Yeah. How was the Chinese 入乡随俗, something like that. I think it is. It's like do in Rome as the Romans do, right? Yeah, yeah, exactly. So okay, so for those fighting to be successful in life, I have a question for you guys. A very important question. How can you remain engaged and motivated? I mean, do you have a routine that you do? Could you start, Victor, please? Do you have a routine that helps you remain engaged and motivated to follow your passion and to do your business?
Yeah. I mean, for sure, I need a routine. In my case, I need a routine for sure. Some people are more flexible, I think, but I need a routine. Having a routine, I think, what give us is to sometimes you free your mind and you start to think more creative, more creative, right? So I mean, I try to separate always because I've been through this really this experience in terms of family and business because I've been working with my wife. So yeah, I try to separate really carefully work and family. So that's super important for me. So I try to work, let's say, these lockdown days also, like 8 hours a day, just focus on work, pure work, and then after work, nothing. Then we don't talk about work and just focus on family, having fun, or do whatever we want. So that's the probably the most important thing for us. And other things, just no, yeah. Probably the main thing is just this, like focus on work, 100%. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And I do agree that the routine of like making sure that you separate work from life is so important when you have a family. It's so important. Completely agree with that. What about you, Katarina?
About routine, it depends what you define as routine. I don't
Uh-huh.
wake up at 5 for sure, but
Me neither.
somehow when I arrive to the position that I can do what I really enjoy doing, I don't even need any motivation. I'm like, this is who I am, what I am currently. Like Janine mentioned before, maybe reassess some decisions in 6 months or sooner or later than that. Maybe I will have another idea, but right now, this is who I am and what I want to do. So I'm excited to get into a project. I'm excited already to come to this forum. I don't need any special motivation or even monetary motivation to come here and speak to you guys. I think it also depends on many factors. Also depends on your family members because
True.
my husband is a musician. You already know that,
Oh,
David. So,
yes.
for him, he is creative in the weirdest, you know, uh, times during the day. And for example, last night, he was sound asleep because he was working, but I was hosting an Tencent meeting screening of Eurovision competition because a few of us foreigners who wanted to watch it. So I wanted to stream the link for everybody. So we were awake from 3 a.m. to 7:30. Then I slept a little and I came back. I woke up and then I got ready for the forum. So I don't have to lean on something. Oh, I didn't do this today, so I'm not motivated. No, this is I'm now in a on that road. I'm climbing the hill and I'm happy to climb it. So I do understand that sometimes people get tired of the job and they really need the motivation. It also happened to me. When it happened to me, I was like, oh, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to quit and do something else. So, what I want to say is there is always something else, and it's allowed not to allow yourself not to be happy with the thing you're doing. You can come to the point and say, oh, this is not for me anymore. So, allow yourself to think about it and then move out from it and you will find something that will maybe not need any motivation at all.
Oh, that's so true. I mean, especially doing something that you hate to do, that's the worst scenario for any person who is aspire to be an entrepreneur, right?
Yes.
You don't really need much motivation if what you do is your passion, if what you do is what you like to do, right? I completely agree
Yeah.
with that. This is why one of my best friends, who's a very famous, perhaps the most famous Australian guy in China, good friend of mine, he said the motivation, the word motivation is overrated, and you don't need motivation. What you do need is repetition.
Yes.
And I found it so useful, that comment. I found it super useful. So what about you, Janine?
I like what you just mentioned with repetition, because I
Yeah,
was about to say I'm a big fan of motivation. That's why I started Monday Morning Motivation. We have nearly 4,000 members, 8 WeChat groups, LinkedIn groups, etc. But what happens if motivation actually goes away? This is when you need, as you mentioned, repetitions, routines. Like I have a
yes,
morning routine, for example. It's like brushing your teeth. You can do this without being motivated, without like spending a lot of
true.
mental energy on it, without light, right? But very, very important is also discipline. And to be honest, I think I'm very grateful to my parents and my stepdad, although they were hard on me when I was a child, but I think I'm a very disciplined person. So sometimes you just gotta get shit done. Excuse the bad word here. And of course, sometimes I do have some big excuses as well, but discipline is a game changer when motivation leaves you. But beyond this, always keep in mind, why did you start?
Yeah.
What's the purpose? What's the meaning? Why did you do all of this? Why do I get up at
The
5
why.
o'clock nearly 7 days a week? Why do I like sleep less? Why do I put in so much effort? Why do I create a new website like the growzone.global? Why do I do all of this? Because it makes me happy when I basically like see that somebody else gets happy or motivated or has beautiful results, or it makes me happy if I can brighten someone's day, if the value that I have created for somebody else, even if it's just one person. I believe in the butterfly effect. So, and happiness is contagious. So I did something good for somebody else, and that just is good for me at the same time. And the butterfly effect will spread it all over the world. That hopefully this one seed that I planted will spread all over the world and be good for more people. And these kind of things just make me happy thinking about this and getting up in the morning, and they give me this energy and this extra power to keep on going, even if it's lockdown, even if we have a low or whatever other excuse we have in our life.
I actually believe that most of entrepreneurs who have a successful business I've met, most of the ones I've met, they do actually do repetition every day. They do have certain routines that works for them. I found myself having a routine that when I do it, when I follow every morning, I find myself way more focused, way more. I stay healthier as well in my mind. I'm not so down, especially under this situation. And I believe most of people should find the routine that works for them, right? Because routines are it depends of the people, right? It's different. That's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. And we're getting already to the final part of the Q&A. But before that, I would like to ask, do the three of you have any suggestions for future expat entrepreneurs coming to Shanghai, like, or people who are in Shanghai already, they're wondering whether they should start their business? Do you have any suggestion, any important suggestions, that something that for you really matters that you want to share with them? Starting with perhaps Victor.
Yeah, just one thing probably is to find a community
Yes.
like this one or other. There's many entrepreneurship communities and stuff. So to find the people that can help you, sharing the experiences, support, mentorship, and all these things. I mean, I think living in Shanghai, that's probably one of the best things. If not, if you're not gonna use it, I don't think there's a me. I mean, that doesn't really make sense to live here. So I mean, that would be the only thing to
Amazing.
to have a community. Yeah.
Amazing advice. I cannot agree more with you because I lived in Inner Mongolia for 5 years. I know what it
Wow.
feels like not to be able to speak your own language for 2 years with anybody face to face. I know what it feels like when you don't have a community who you can share your thoughts, who you can share the things that you like and your passions, and you. It's hard sometimes to get help from others. So Shanghai is so unique in that sense, right? You can find people that fast that can give you a hand, that can connect you, that can help you to move forward, right? What about you, Janine? What do you think? What would you suggest new entrepreneurs coming to Shanghai?
Well, a rational and an emotional approach. So, number one, do some competitive research, do some research on the market. Is there really a need for whatever solution product you're providing? Is there like a target group really here? How big is the market? And once you have done this, because like passion is one thing, but beyond this, I would hope that you can have both, so that there is a market and you have done your research, and number two, that you're passionate about it and that you love what you're doing, that hopefully it's a purpose. And if both of them are combined, then do it, whether it is Shanghai. And even if you try it out, you know what, if you realize because of changing market conditions or whatever, like, it's not that you fail, okay? If you just decide to adjust and change the city inside of China or change the country, it is also okay. No matter what you do, you're always becoming better, smarter, improving. So just keep it up, keep on going one step after another. And yes, Shanghai has great opportunities, but Shanghai is not for everybody.
It is not. I found quite a few people leaving because they thought that it would be a land of opportunity for everyone. I believe that to be an entrepreneur in Shanghai, it can be challenging, but I also know that there is so much help. So there's so many opportunities, like you said, so much help, and it's for the go-getters, really. It's for people who think, even if I fail now, even if I fail tomorrow, even if I fail day after tomorrow, I have to keep on trying, because I believe those are the people who at the end they get what they want. It's not for people who come here and they go like, oh, I'm having this issue, and suddenly they just turn into super negative backward thought, and they just like, oh, I think it's not for these kind of people. It's more for people, for go-getters, right? What about you, Katarina? What do you think?
I want to say something practical first. Like Janine already mentioned, find a good agent. This is crucial, especially if you don't speak Chinese and you don't know much about the law. Find a great agent. There are, I can't say plenty, but I guess there are plenty. We can for sure find some, and we did. So I'm sure there are many recommendations. And also find your tribe. Like you guys already mentioned, you need some people you can communicate with. You can also match the cultures, because it's not always the same talking to local people and foreigners from other countries. Sometimes you want to speak German to another German person, and sometimes you want to speak Spanish to another Spanish person, and you understand each other in every single level. So this is also important for some encouragement. And I want to say start small, but what exactly do I mean? There is this law of the least effort, and it helps us achieve different things. Because, for example, my background is in teaching and also in IT. So I wake up this morning and I want to become Elon Musk. Can I become Elon Musk today? For sure, no. But if I know what my goal is, I can reverse engineer that, and I can start with small steps. Janine mentioned going to the gym. If I go to the gym and I want to lift 100 kilos from the floor, I might break my back. But if I go there 3 times every week and start slowly, eventually I will be able to lift 100 kilos. So give yourself time to do everything that others mentioned, what Victor mentioned and what Janine mentioned. Assess the market, find your niche, do everything, and then start step by step. Do not chew more than you can swallow, right? Because that's going to hit you very fast, and you're going to feel defeated, and then you're going to give up before you even started.
I absolutely agree. And I would say that now, under the any current situation in Shanghai, the good thing is that everything is so digital that you can test your ideas easily, right? You don't have to wait to see, or you don't have a lot of resources to test an idea. So you can just start very small and start testing ideas, whether the market is right, whether your idea is okay. Probably you might find yourself in a niche, right, where you can start your business here. Okay, so unfortunately we are running out of time. So I want to first thank you, our guests, so much for sharing all your thoughts and everything, all these advices that you've given. I believe they are better than gold. And I hope our audience has found this discussion useful. And now what we do is we're gonna get to a Q&A time, questions and answers. So if the audience have any questions, please would you share them here in the chat group? Could you please write them, and we're gonna go through them. So I have a few questions here already. The first one, it says, what would you do differently if you don't run your current business? What would you do? Like, I guess entrepreneurs, they want to find business opportunities, right? So they want to ask you as an entrepreneur, what would you do if you weren't doing what you're doing right now, right? So starting with perhaps Janine.
So I worked for a corporate before, for HP, and I really loved the company. So I was actually trying for them to maybe go to a different city or country. I was dreaming of Singapore, which hadn't worked out in the past. I've never been. I always liked living in the US. So I would be open to live in one of these countries. Nowadays, I wouldn't mind even trying out Thailand, maybe Bangkok. I think the world is full of opportunities, and I probably would go back to a corporate because, to be honest, I love working for the corporate world. If I have the right boss who also like challenges me, helps me grow, pushes me, because I actually got a senior position, although I was a junior. So it was not that I was just like making copies like an intern. So I like the challenges. That is probably something I would do. I hope that this answers your questions. And if I had to start exactly the same what I did now, I would definitely make sure I have a bit more financial savings on the side, and I hire a business coach, not just a life coach, but a business coach, and get a proper mentor from the start.
Wow. Okay. What about you, Katarina? What would you do? I mean, would you go to another type of business? Would you open different business, or would you do something different? Like Janine, would you find a job, or what would you do?
I guess I would still be trying to do something like I'm doing now, but maybe in a different industry. I found out recently, actually realized recently that my whole life I've been kind of guided to be a teacher, a trainer, something like that. Even when we were kids, I was so good at basketball because I'm so tall. You can't see now because I'm sitting down. And even my teachers would give me the responsibility to teach other kids in the class how to play basketball. So I'm like 12, 13 years old, and I have this huge responsibility. So I think if I wasn't doing this now and going through coaching and doing lectures and speaking here with you guys, I also think there will be another industry, but similar to training or something else, because I really love giving back to people and also receiving others' feedback. I'm not one of those people, oh, I don't want to, nobody can change my mind and I'm the smartest one. But probably I would still be back home, and probably I would be working in the Ministry of Education. I guess that would be like a career I could wait out the retirement, in. But I'm so happy I didn't decide for that, and I'm here now.
Oh, that's excellent. And Victor, what would you be doing if you are not doing what you're doing now? What other things do you think you would be doing?
Yeah, I don't know actually. Because I mean, what I'm doing now, it's actually my dream.
Wow.
So I'm super happy to to be able to do my dream and
Wow.
to live with this. So actually, I don't know. Like,
I was hoping you would say that, because
really,
that should be the answer of every entrepreneur, right? Like I
that
wouldn't
I
be
mean,
doing anything else. I love what I'm
yeah,
doing. This is
yeah,
what I was meant to be doing. I think this is the best answer to me personally, because the people should really do what they love to do, right? And it's hard to imagine doing something else when you are doing what you really love doing, right? I think that's a lot of people unfortunately are not doing what they really love to do, and this is why what Janine said also is very important, to find coach or somebody, a mentor, that can drive you to the right direction and to go and do what you really want to do. I think is very important. That was a question from David. So thank you, David, for that question. There is a question here from Nang Yang, and it's directed to you, Victor. It says, "Hi, Victor. How was working on the business with only 2 people and its challenges and positives? Like, any advice you can give on these micro businesses and challenges you guys faced, especially at the beginning, especially initially when you started?"
yeah. So I don't know where to start. It's just,
Oh my God.
it's just, it's
Take the
everything is
list out.
challenges.
Okay.
Uh, I mean, let's start with the good things. I mean, starting the business with my wife, the good thing is that everything is more flexible.
She
You are
was
more,
busy, right?
yeah. I mean, your work. I mean, you understand her. She understands you. So everything is much more efficient in terms of communication. Um, when you are so small, you can work overtime. You work at night. I think this makes everything much more flexible and you adapt more quickly. So that's a good thing.
Okay.
But the challenges is everything else.
Of course. Of course.
Everything else. So one main thing probably is that sacrifice is for sure. There's gonna be sacrifice
Of
because
course.
if you want to achieve something, you need to sacrifice, and the bigger thing you want to achieve, the bigger sacrifice you need to make. So in our case, I mean, almost our marriage was, a bit dangerous, was affecting our marriage, our family. We had no vacations. So it was a lot of sacrifice in the beginning. But that's because, I mean, we wanted to make it better. So yeah, I think that's
It's
the
funny,
main
isn't
thing.
it? It's funny that all of this is like it's both driven by a common goal, which is to make your life better, which is to improve your marriage and to improve your family life. But the very thing, the very goal that puts you together can also split you apart. That is
Mhm.
interesting, isn't it? And I can relate to that as well, because yeah, we also do business, my wife and I, together, so we know how hard it is. It is very, very hard. I
Yeah,
understand you, man. I
we,
understand you.
yeah, yeah. I mean, but we had to go through those stages, for sure. I mean, as Janine said, like the hard moments makes you stronger, and
Totally.
you need to go through this process for sure. I mean, you cannot, start a business and be successful. It's impossible. You need to try to love the process of being successful, let's say. So I think it's super important to be patient, but also every day try to work hard, but in the overall, being patient.
And like Katarina said, not to be too hard on yourself as well, right?
Mm.
Uh, not to be too strict and to say, okay, I do have to do this if I want to be successful. Otherwise, I am not a successful person. I think success, this word, can be sometimes such a weight in your mind, because what is it to be successful really? Like, what do you want, right? You got to keep yourself asking this question every day, because that can change as well. It's so changeable. Sometimes all you want is just to be outside for a walk and enjoy to have a meal with your friends. Maybe that would be the success we are hoping right now. But while
Yeah.
in another times, yeah, well, other times is success. It could be something so much bigger and higher, right? So I think it's not to be so hard on yourself all the time. I think that's really important. And I'm being so patient. I completely agree with you, Victor. And there is yes,
Sorry, just one last thing.
of
Probably
course.
one of the things that makes us, better as a company, how we manage clients and projects is that I think that works with services company. We try to always under promise, but also over deliver. So there's so many companies that try to promise a lot in the beginning, like before, in the sales process, and then not delivering as expected. So I think it's super important to be to under promise and then over deliver to the client.
Totally. I absolutely agree with that. Especially if you want to thrive here in such a challenging and competitive market in Shanghai, which is so much help, so much everything, but also still competition, right? And you still have you to thrive, you gotta give your best. And since it's your passion, then why not, right? One question here that I do actually I found quite interesting. It says, "Hi speakers." That's also from David. The last question, by the way, was from Nangyan. Thank you so much for that question. That was very good. And again from David, it says, "Anything you find different or particularly difficult in doing business in China?" Says, "Have you all break even yet? What's your aim in 3 years?" So let's go for the most important one. Anything you find different or particularly difficult in doing business in China? Perhaps beginning, from Janine.
I think the main thing is definitely the language and the culture. So I think these are the two biggest parts that I can come up with, because I don't think that building up a business in my home country is easy either. Or if I had done it in the US or in France, I think I would have struggled in many ways as well. Just maybe with different things, maybe with a few similar things. But the advantage would have been I know how to speak English, German, and French. So I know the cultures a little bit more than Chinese culture, maybe. So at least these two factors would have been less challenging.
Totally agree. I mean, my whole business is based on precisely on making sure that companies do understand the Chinese culture well, and we also do teach them Chinese in a corporate level to Spanish-speaking companies mainly, but also to other companies. And I completely agree with that. What about you, Katarina? What do you think is especially challenging here in the Chinese market?
I can totally agree with Janine. What she said is like so spot on. It's the language and the culture.
And the culture.
Because it's very different. And also it depends where are you coming from. Like I mentioned, my country is small and we were in a survival mode. So it took a long time to relax. And then we came to the lockdown. So, but anyway, there are many different factors that can either assist you going through this transition. I remember when I arrived here and I'm alone and I just want to go to the supermarket and buy something. I don't recognize anything. Everything is different. Bread, yogurt, milk, everything looks different. So when you even step in a situation like that, and then you can't imagine yourself even buying groceries. How can you imagine yourself building a business? But then a few years after, here we are. So as long as you don't quit, you are good. And it really also depends on what you want to do. But those two factors are very important for foreigners, especially the culture and the language. If you don't have the time to learn the language or immerse yourself in the culture, what does that mean? That means you need a helper. You need a partner, somebody who will, yeah, any helper. You need somebody who will do this part for you, and then you can focus on something else. So maybe you can get ideas about services. Maybe you can design those services, but maybe you will need somebody else to sell them for you, to promote them for you. You know, you just need to make it work and find another creative way how to do that. Because Janine mentioned maybe in another culture would be easier for her. Of course, maybe because you know the language, but is your product necessary there? And how about the learning curve? If you come to China, it's so different than anything else. So you're also going to learn a lot. And if you decide to move on to another country, then you still have all this experience, and then you still can bring that to your business. I think it's very rewarding, very, very, not only rewarding in money, also rewarding in everything else.
I totally agree. Victor,
Yes.
although you are my countryman, you are Spanish, but I am so looking forward to hear what you are about to say. Because I mean, I know you will agree with Katrina and with Janine that culture and language is so important. But I think that's not something you would have to worry.
Yeah, in my case, my parents are Chinese. I grew up in Spain, so I'm just in between these two cultures. So I more or less understand both. So my difficulties probably was more in terms of how to, talk about business, how to get business in China, because I don't have a business background, but I love business. So I mean, I had this kind of experience, like what they say in the beginning. Okay, in China, you need to have guanxi, but I really didn't understand that moment. Like, what does it mean? Like guanxi, connection. So, but now, now looking back, I know what they mean is how Chinese or more local people tend to do business here is business or your expertise is not the main thing. You need to connect with them in another level in terms of family, social, etc. So what I understand later is that, for example, in meetings with the CEO, I try to just talk about life or family or social or whatever, and not about business. And that's how it works in China. And that makes makes them interested in you, and makes they think, okay, apart from business, this person is also, I don't know, has a daughter and goes to this school and has this hobby. So in China, in this culture, it's super important, like to have this relationship between work, life, family, everything. So that's something I discover and still learning, of course, but it's quite challenging in the beginning. Like yes.
I would thought this as a Spanish is less challenging for you because where I come from, I mean, I'm more from the south. I know you are from Valencia, and I was born in Valencia, but in the south of Spain, it is very similar to China, actually. Like everything is what we call enchufe. You know, this word means like connections. Everything is like about making friends first, then partners, or making friends first, then work with this person, right?
Yes, it's quite similar in some way, but what it happens in Spain, I think, is you become friends. Probably you don't talk too much about work.
That is true.
And when you talk about work, they think you are unpolite.
Very true. Very true. I love that you pointed that out.
Maybe business people or some people, maybe they try, it's mixed together. In Spain, yeah, they start talking about life and they keep talking about life.
And then there's no much business to do anymore. It's like you feel like awkward if you start talking about business. It's impolite. Yes. Very true, very true. In China, in China, it's completely common that business is down over the table. Yeah, just sitting down and have a dinner and let's talk about business now. I really love that. I really like this I mean, for my case, my scenario is different because I have been among Chinese people most likely longer time than you have, because since I was 12, since I was 12, I speak Chinese, and I've been among Chinese and doing business probably already the last over 20 more years with Chinese people. So yeah, but I would say, when you mentioned earlier, you said that it is important that you understand what's going on, not just within the culture, but like the guanxi and the connections, right? I would also point out to have people who can guide you, right? And the communities, that's what communities are for. And this is why I wanted to mention that, of course, all of this that we're doing now is about creating a community that can make an impact and can help other entrepreneurs. And although I really hate to say it, but unfortunately we're running out of time. And I would just like to thank you so much, the three of you, for all your efforts to share and participate in this forum, sharing with all of us and with the audience. And unfortunately, we are coming to an end of the forum. If there are no more important, like, let's say, very emergency sort of question from the audience, I'm about to say thank you so much for sharing. And please do enter the group. For those in the audience that have not yet entered the group that we have, entrepreneur group that we have, WeChat group that we have, is in the chat. You can find the QR codes, and please do share. Also do subscribe in our channel, because we are showcasing entrepreneurs in the channel, their lives, and hopefully very soon your businesses as well. So thank you so much. Thank you very much, Victor and Janine and Katarina, for your time and for your efforts.
Thank you, David, for inviting us.
Thanks for organizing. Really nice panel.